with Jess Rose. Let me just fix this here. How are we all? I'm coming to you from Skegness today. Look at me. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Live, of course. So you get to see so many mess ups, lot of stuttering you see now. But yeah, every Tuesday and Thursday from 8 p.m. Tuesday tend to be my request evening. If you've got a story you'd like to request, if you want to come through to my Patreon, it's patreon.com/jessrose5472. And then on a Thursday, it's stories that I'd like to do and I want to bring to you. I like to try and bring stories that you haven't heard of on a Thursday. So tonight's story, obviously with it being our request live, it's a bad one this evening. Right, I'll tell you what I've forgotten to do. I've forgotten to put the charger in. So sorry about that. I'm getting all... Hey P, how you doing? Hey Hayley. How's you going? Oh, hang on. I'm just putting that up. My moderator extraordinaire, how are we? I was just getting everything ready. I haven't got all my stuff around me, so I'm trying to make sure I've got everything all ready. How are we all though? I'm just making sure that went on charge. I don't know why that's red. I'm hoping. Hey Phil, how we doing? How are we? Did you know we've got a new moderator this evening, our Hayley? She's our new moderator this evening. Well, Tiff's off on her jollies and I'm looking after Tiff's. I'm coming to you from Skegness this evening. So I've got all my stuff everywhere, but I forgot a charger. So I'm having to use USB. So of course I've got no plug. So I couldn't put my light on this evening. So I haven't got that. And then of course haven't got a plug. So I can't use my mic to put my stuff in. So I'm just coming to you bog standard this evening. But yes, she abandoned us. She left us all to go on her jollies. How dare she? How dare she? Right, okay, Hayley, I'm going to make you feel a little bit better at this moment because what I'm going to do, just really quickly, if you're watching tomorrow, I'm just letting you all know before I start the story. Okay, I know I've been a little bit inconsistent the past sort of, as summer's been coming in with the kids' holidays and then me going away and then this. So what I'm going to do, we're going to do tonight's story and then, do you know what? It's really nice, Phil. It's really, really nice. We're having a great time, but that's why I want to put this to you is because the chances are I'm here for at least another week, and I don't want to be like, yeah, I'm going to be with you, and then I hate. It's a real pet hate of mine when I have to put up a message to say, oh, I can't do tonight, like I did last Thursday. Last Thursday was crazy. And I hate doing it. I hate it. I much prefer to let you know in advance when I'm not going to do it. And let me tell you why. I obviously watch channels on YouTube, like different genres and stuff. But if for some reason I'm expecting a video and it's not there, I give a pass once or twice, but then I start watching other channels. And before you know it, I don't go back to them. So I know to be consistent, you know, is very important. I do understand that. So, okay, that was a long way around of saying what I'm going to do. I'll be missing this Thursday, next Tuesday, and the Thursday after. Okay. So, oh, thank you, Natalie. It's not mine. I'm in Skegness. I'm at Tiffany's. This is Tiffany's decor, which is very nice. It is very nice. But yeah, that I was just saying, Natalie, it's just going to be a bit of a problem trying to, because I have come away and the kids are away and we came back early today because obviously I knew I had the live to do and there's just so much going on. And rather than messing you guys about and going, yeah, I'll see you Thursday, and then putting up a message saying, actually, no. So what I'm going to do, I think it was you, Natalie, that helped me out the last time, but if anyone can tell me what the date will be. So what are we today? What's the date today? Do you know, I can't look because it's on my phone and I can't see. So I'll be back 2 weeks today. Okay, so whatever the date is, 2 weeks today is when I'm going to be back with you. Because I just don't want to keep messing you about. And I've got no more plans for the rest of the summer, as far as I know, unless I win the lottery and we all go away to foreign lands. I've got no other plans. So, yes, so 2 weeks today, whatever that date is, if someone can let me know. And that's when I'm going to be back. And there shouldn't be any more faffing and messages and everything else going, I can't do today. 6th of August, excellent. Is it really? Oh, of course it will be, because the mum's back. You see, it's my mum's birthday coming up. Sharon, who comes through on the live as well. So I've got mum's birthday coming up. We've got No It's Out coming up. Tiff's back. And there's just so much coming up that I don't want to. Yeah, I know I've rambled on about it now, but yeah, that's the point. I don't want to keep messing you about. 2 weeks today, so I think it's 6th of August. Yes, Natalie just said yes. I think it was you who helped me out the last time as well, Natalie. So yes, that's when I'm going to be back, and I hate doing it. I genuinely do. I hate doing it because, like I said, I know how I feel when there's a channel that I like, which I hope you do like this channel. And it's just chopping and changing. I hate that. So yes, so we'll say the 6th of August and we'll be back on track. Anyway, how are we all? How are we all doing out there? I don't think there'll be any Warwick this evening either. I think from the messages that I'd received after the last video, I don't know if anyone else saw them. I think he's just pulling himself away from YouTube for a little while. So hopefully he'll come back and join us again soon. Fingers crossed. I think we're going to, he's going to be missed. So fingers crossed it's not going to be like a long thing. But we'll just, if he does happen to come across this video, we wish you well, Warwick, and I hope you're okay. So who have we got with us this evening? Obviously no Tiffany. I'll tell you what, without Tiffany and Warwick, it's going to be on the quiet side, isn't it? We might have a peaceful evening this evening. So Natalie and Hayley, and yes, and like I say, we've got Hayley as our moderator. Okay, right, going to give you all a warning out there. I believe he's okay, Hayley. If you have a look at the messages, they were just basically he's pulling himself away from YouTube for a little while, but I can't lie, I don't quite know the reason. Ugh. I didn't want to pry too much, to be honest, because I can get a little bit nosy, as we know, and I'm trying to pull that back a little bit, even though it'll probably only last for a day. But I did ask him a little bit, but I didn't really get much out. So I don't know what's going on. I just got the inkling he's coming away from YouTube for a little while. So I don't believe it's got anything to do with this group. Look at me. It's because I'm on a chair. I'm not sat on the floor, so I'm all bouncy today. And you can't see my arms today, can you? I talk with my hands, so all you're going to see is them coming up into the screen like this. But, yeah, I think he's all right. Yeah, just tonight, Hayley, just tonight, because, yeah, I won't, I know, I can't help being nosy. It's just in my nature. Yeah, so by the time I come back in 2 weeks, obviously Tiff will be back. Do you know what, actually, Hayley, I have to actually put you as moderator, don't I? So give me 1 second. If you're watching tomorrow, just bear with me a second. Right now, add as moderator. Come on, you've got loads of blah, come with you. Okay, I'm going to put you there. There you go, Hayley. There you go, officially moderator. Check you out. Oh, I know, Phil. Me too. Me too. I hope he comes back soon. I love our little group, and I hate it when you're even away. Even you, Phil, on a Tuesday. But I didn't mean even you, Phil. I mean even on a Tuesday, Phil, when you go away. It's like ugh, I like our group. I like everyone to be here because then I'm like, so and so would have liked that. So yeah, I hope we're all back together as a happy group very soon. But yeah, where am I? I just want to make sure I can see the chats. Okay, so I'm going to start. Right, gonna give you all a heads up now. I don't know if you know this story at all or if anyone's heard of it. It does go back to the 90s, but it is a child. There you go. Celebrate. There she is with a little spanner in the corner. I wonder why it's a spanner. If you're a moderator, I wonder why you get a spanner. Don't know about that. But anyway, yes, it is a child. It is very graphic. It is quite upsetting. Obviously, if it's not your thing, if you're watching tomorrow, if it's not your thing, I completely understand. But yeah, that's the warning I'm going to give you. Actually, the fella who's here normally shouting at me for giving a warning isn't here, so I can give all the warnings. I want to look at that, all the warnings. You can tell them in Skegness, can't you? See, Hayley and Tiffany with all the stuffs picking up. Right, okay, so I'm going to start now. And that was the last warning I'm going to give. So as you saw in the title, it's How Could They, the Tesslynn O'Cull Story. Okay, now, I quite like this. I'm on a chair. I have a table and everything. I don't know if you can see. I've got table and chair, and it's a whole very professional setup. I'll tell you what, this sister of mine, she's got it. She's got the life. She's all laid out, all lovely. I'm very jealous. Right. Okay. Anyway, we have a lady by the name of Stella Kaiser. Okay, that's where we're going to start. Now, Stella herself, she was the youngest of 5. Okay, she had 5. She had 2 older brothers and an older sister, and then a twin brother called Billy. Okay, so she said that she had a very, very strict upbringing, and her dad was quite violent with her. Apparently, it's been said since then that, well, especially from her brother Billy, her twin, he says he doesn't remember the dad being as strict with Stella, but this is what she says. Anyway, when Stella was 13 years old, her and her mum were in the house, and they actually come running out, Stella and her mum, out of the house, and Billy, the twin brother's outside, and he says when they come running out screaming, it was because they'd just witnessed Stella's dad and obviously her mum's husband killing himself. So, and she was 13, so you could imagine that could be very, very traumatic for anybody, but a teenager, early teen as well. It could send you off the rails, and that's what it does. It does send her off the rails, and quite quickly after, she starts drinking and she starts smoking. And obviously, if it was a dad who was the disciplinarian within the family, with him gone, she just, yeah. And not just that, it's not like he just left, you know. I can't even imagine how traumatic that would be. And I'm just going to say that's all the sympathy this girl's going to get from me. That's it. That's the lot. That's as far as I can go, I'm afraid, and you'll see why. But yeah, so she starts drinking, she starts smoking, she starts taking drugs, crystal meth by the time she was 14. You know, just a real handful she'd become. Now, when Stella turned 16, she met a lad called Jason O'Cull. And at this point, Jason was 17, so both quite young. And he liked partying as well, and so they'd go out partying together and everything else. And very, very quickly, she gets pregnant, and they go on to have little Jason Jr. And because obviously she's got this little baby and they're trying to make a go of it, they move in with Jason's family, his parents, and for the most part, they were doing okay, considering they're so young as well, so young. And Jason himself, obviously, realising he's got his family, and I presume with the push from his own parents, he goes back to school, he studies, and then he begins a job as a steel worker, quite a good salary from what I've heard, from what I believe. So he's trying to do good for his little family. Stella, not so much. She still wanted to party, even though she's a mum now. Okay, she's very young, she's 16, but she's a mum. She's chose to have this little baby, and she still wants to go out and party and do her drugs. And Jason's dad says she used to play games with him as well. She used to try and make Jason jealous and get him into fights with other men and things like this. So she was a bit of a handful, to say the least. After a couple of years, then she catches again for another baby, and she goes. So little Jason Jr. would have been about 2 around this point. And on the 8th of June 1994, she has Tesslynn Elizabeth O'Cull. Okay, beautiful, beautiful little girl. Now, this is in Ontario in California. And Tesslynn, there's not a mass amount of pictures, I'm going to say that now, but you can see her in the photos that are out there. She's a little blonde, little thing, blue eyes, very pretty little thing. Loved her older brother. We said she was really, really close to Jason Jr. Really liked her brother, which they tend to, don't they? Because it's not a big adult that's, can be quite intimidating to a little child. It's someone on their level, and she really did look up to him. It says that she had a favourite thing in the world, and it was a truck. So you can tell she's got an older brother. Loved music, loved animals, loved little bugs, which is crazy for a little child. I mean, I think I've always been scared of spiders and bugs of any sort, but apparently she loved them, and she'd bring them up to anyone who was there and get them to look at a little bug that she'd found. So she seems like an adorable little thing. She really does. Now, even though now she's a mother of 2, Stella, she hasn't changed her ways, and she's still out there living it up and partying, and yeah, she's just not settling. Anyway, Stella, do you remember I said she was the youngest of 5? Well, along with her twin, and they had 2 older brothers and an older sister. Well, one of this older sister, should I say, lived in Oregon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I think I am. And in a town called Springfield, Oregon. And Billy, Stella's twin, was moving down. Now, I'm going to say down. I should have checked, is it down or up from California? But I'm going to say down. And he's deciding to move down with their older sister. And Stella's like, sod it, then I'm coming with the 2 kids. So she just ups and leaves with Jason Jr. and Tesslynn. And, her and Jason Sr. hadn't been getting on too great anyway. So he wasn't happy with her taking the kids, of course. But, they'd run their course, their relationship had. So she went, and his dad said that Stella, for the most part, saw Jason Sr. as, a bit of a meal ticket, because he'd send the money for the kids, and he'd make sure she was doing okay. Because remember I said he went back to school, he got himself a good job. So he'd certainly pay for the children to make sure they were living okay, supposedly. Okay. So she was started finding things hard, Stella did, because now she hasn't got Jason's family helping her. She hasn't got Jason himself. Although she's down there with her twin and her older sister, for the most part, she's down there as a single mum, I suppose you could say. And she's starting to find the situation quite hard. I'd more say, you're not going to find a lot of sympathy from me with regards to Stella. And I would say it's more that she couldn't go out partying as much, maybe. I think that's what the issue was, really. But anyway, the one getting the brunt of her frustration was Jason Jr. Now, at this point, he's not even 5 yet. He's still only, well, obviously only 4. But, you know, he's still very young. And she was seen sort of dragging him, slapping him. She just had no patience for this little boy at all. For the most part, though, it was said that she'd treat Tesslynn quite well. Both kids were neglected with regards to their clothing and their food, but with regards to love from Stella herself, it was said that she was okay with Tesslynn. It was just Jason Jr. that was getting the brunt of her anger at the moment. Now, DHS were involved, DHS being social services in Oregon. They were involved, and Stella was ordered to take parenting classes, and that was it for the most part. That was their input. So we come to Christmas of 96, and little Tesslynn's 2 now. And like I say, little Jason Jr. is 5 now. And they go back to California. And where did I say it was? Ontario, California. And they go back for the holidays for about 6 weeks. It was planned for them to go back. And it was said that the neglect showed itself pretty much straight away as they were getting off the coach and were being picked up off the coach or the bus, you know, that they've got on to travel up there. The kids had no shoes or socks on, and it was apparently freezing. Don't forget, this is Christmas time, and most places except Australia at Christmas time are quite nippy. And it was said that, yeah, there was snow on the ground, and they had no shoes on, socks on. They were looking quite unkept kind of thing. So that was the first inkling the family got that things weren't going too well. And they noticed that she was a lot harsher. Remember me saying with Jason Jr., a lot harsher with him. And yeah, she turned around to, it was either Jason Sr. or his dad. She turned around, she just says, I just can't handle this boy anymore. She just had no patience for him whatsoever. And like I say, they were there for 6 weeks, and as they're coming to the end of the holiday, Jason and his family convince her to leave Jason Jr. with them. They're like, you know, just leave him here, it'll make life easier for you. And they didn't even consider that there'd be a problem with regards to Tesslynn. They didn't even question it, because in front of them and for what they'd seen, she was quite soft with Tesslynn, and she looked after her quite well. So it was just Jason Jr. they were concerned with at that point. So they let her leave with Tesslynn, and they kept Jason Jr. back. So once she returns to Oregon now, Stella meets a man called Jesse Compton. Now, don't forget, at this point, Stella's about 20, and this Jesse is about 20. Okay. Now, Jesse himself, let me tell you a little bit about Jesse Compton. He'd been in a relationship himself right up until not long before he met Stella. And he'd been with a girl, and he had a little girl himself. But Jesse wasn't a good guy at all. And he was very hands-on with his ex-girlfriend, and he was also very hands-on with his daughter, to the point where social services had got involved with them. Jesse's girlfriend left with his daughter. He manages to convince her to come home and bring the baby back with her. Quite quickly, his violent side came out again, but as it happened, DHS, or for our benefit, social services, become aware that she'd moved back and took their child away from them. And it was basically, you leave him or we're keeping your child. And she, you know, as you would quite rightly do, she moves out. She gets rid of him, she moves out, and she goes on to get her child back and just gets him out of her system. Well, so not long after this happens, he comes into contact with Stella, who, of course, has got a little girl, Tesslynn. You know, you couldn't make it up, could you? Now, Stella and Tesslynn very, very quickly move into Jesse's apartment with him. Now, from what I've heard, I haven't seen pictures of it, but from the description I've heard of his so-called apartment. I love it when people say apartment, because just the word apartment, it sounds nicer than what we say flat, doesn't it? It sounds nicer and it makes it sound a little bit posher. Apparently not. Apparently it was a complete hole. It was disgusting, it was dirty, it stunk. He was a meth amphetamine taker. He would have parties in his apartment for days at a time with lots of other druggies in there with him. This was his life. He loved attention. He loved to be seen as the big man. This was Jesse, and this was the home that Tesslynn has been dragged into by her mom. So, okay, so this is the life Tesslynn is now living. All right, so one thing that Jesse had that he was very, very proud of, that he loved, he had a propane torch that he'd burn his meth with. Now, I don't know anything about any hard drugs whatsoever. I certainly don't know how you would begin to take meth. I wouldn't know. But apparently he used a propane torch to burn it down. Now, I don't even know if I've worded that right, but that's what the propane torch was for. And just to give you an inkling of what this fella was like, he used to hold his hand out and have the torch, you know, burning his hand underneath, just to show how hard he was, you know, how solid this guy was. It's just embarrassing. And apparently there was punch marks all around, you know, in the walls and the doors where he'd lose his temper and he'd punch things or he'd kick things or he'd throw knives at the wall when he'd lose his temper, just showing off in front of these so-called friends. Now, obviously, these are meth takers as well, so I would presume they're just friends when these parties are going on. I wouldn't presume they're friends that, you know, you could call on in any sort of emergency, which we're going to see very soon. Like I say, I mentioned his party trick with the propane torch in his hand. Now, quite soon after they moved in, Stella begins to allow Jesse to discipline Tesslynn. What? I always get very confused when I do these stories, when I hear when the mum hands over the discipline to a man she's just met, by the way, just met. That I haven't missed out, like, or I haven't fast-tracked a couple of years here. She's just met this guy, and he's taken over the discipline of Tesslynn. And And she would leave Tesslynn on her own with Jessie, while Stella would go to her parenting classes that she'd been ordered to take from DHS when they'd been investigating her from before. So she'd go to parenting classes and leave her little 2-year-old baby with this guy who, let's not forget, was done for child abuse from his own child. Now, Tesslyn's not his. So we know what way this is going to go. How did she not know? Anyway, so you might think, well, she'd go out and leave Tesslynn with him, but there would be other people there because these so-called friends would be in the house, apartment, while he was watching little Tesslynn. And they would see him just being absolutely vile to her. Now, it started off with him, the discipline would be he'd put her in a corner. That was where it started. He'd put her in a corner for hours at a time, for some sort of wrongdoing that he'd come up with that she'd done. She was two, okay? And he'd call her just vile names, just rotten names. This is how it started. And like I say, there was friends there that would witness this. And even when Stella would be home, so this wasn't, well, Mum's out and I'm gonna get hold of this shot. No. This is while Stella was home too. And at one point, one of the party guests were like, are you gonna do something? Because of how he's treating your daughter. And she's like, no, just leave it. Just leave him. He deals with her. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were her mum. I thought you gave birth to her, but I must have got it wrong. Don't get me started on this woman. Okay. So then it escalates. It begins to escalate then. And he starts hitting her with like wooden spoons and spatulas. He'd drag her around by her little hair. She was 2. She didn't have a lot anyway. And he'd drag her around by her hair. He'd slap her straight in her face. He'd beat her with a belt. So it's beginning to escalate now. And you might be like, well, that's horrific. Yes, it is. But we're just starting. So did give you a heads up at the beginning. It's the last one I'm going to give. He'd put her in cold baths and showers again for hours at a time. And of course the ever, what's the word I'm looking for? The ever often, that's not even the right word, that we see on these stories. She begins to get starved. Because you see, Stella would forget to feed her. She'd just forget. Look, oh God, I forgot. Now, whether this was in her drug-fueled binges or it was just that she didn't fancy feeding her child, but her and Jessie would be fed. I don't know, but it was said that, yeah, they'd forget to feed Tesslynn. Okay, now Tesslynn would be allowed out to, I suppose you could call it play, but she'd be outside the apartment. She would be seen by neighbours outside. They noticed it was very odd that she'd be outside she'd be basically dressed from head to toe, like covered up in the middle of summer. So it'd be quite hot and she'd just be fully covered up. And they did find that quite odd, and because they would hear him shouting and berating, they'd hear banging, and of course all these parties and music and everything else, they would report Jessie and Stella. But on this one occasion, one of the neighbours says, I'm going to phone the police on you, and Jessie, being his big man self, big 20-year-old self, was like, you phone the police and I'm gonna kill you. So, and he does threaten to kill the neighbour, so of course they don't phone the police. And it's like, but you're an adult, and you can tell that there's something quite odd going on with regards to this child, and in protecting yourself, in perhaps being, you know, and I'm not saying you take someone saying to you, I'm going to kill you, with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that, but this girl, this baby, has got to live with this man. Anyway, maybe they just didn't think it was going to get as bad as it did. I don't know, but needless to say, they didn't phone the police then. Now, a few months go by. And like I say, we are in 1997 now, aren't we? And we're just coming up to around when her birthday is, little Tesslynn. So she's nearly 3. She's nearly 3. But at this point, the so-called friends who'd come for these parties in the apartment, they noticed they'd stopped seeing Tesslynn. They could hear her, but they didn't see her anymore. And what they noticed was that she was kept in her room at all times. She basically wasn't allowed out of her room. And what they would see would be Jesse going into the room, and he'd stay in there for a little while. And then when he'd come out, they would hear Tesslynn crying for hours and hours afterwards. And when any of them would say, you know, on the odd occasion, they'd be like, do we do anything? Do we help? And he'd be like, no, you leave it with me. And Stella, by the way, same. She's like, I'm he's fine, he's disciplining her. Just stay out of it. And I just put myself in that situation, and I've gone round to a so-called friend's house for a party, and I see this friend going in to a bedroom, and then when he comes out, you hear a little girl crying her eyes out and screaming and crying, and just continuing to party, just continuing to be like, oh, just fine, turn the music up, she'll go to sleep in a bit. I don't understand. I've really struggled with this one because of the amount of people around this little girl. And it just, as I say, it blows my brain. Because it's like, did you not once think, let me just leave this party and go and get this child some help? Anyway, it gets to the point where someone from Stella's family calls Jason. Now, we don't know who it is. I've looked around. I can't see who it is. I don't know if it was maybe her older sister or someone. I don't know. But they phoned Jason back in California. And basically they say that Tesslynn's been very severely neglected back there, down in Oregon. And they offer, whoever this person is, they offer for Jason to come to Oregon, and what they would do would be pretend that they're taking Tesslynn to a birthday party, and they would arrange to meet up with Jason, and he could take Tesslynn back to California. And that's what this family member was trying to put into place. But as annoyed as I was when I realised that Jason's response to this was, no, I can't do that, I'll get arrested and everything else, he does go to a solicitor to begin the process of trying to get custody of Tesslynn. And I was really annoyed at first when I heard this, but I thought, do you know what? From his point of view, last time he saw Stella and Tesslynn, she was treating Tesslynn very well. they didn't have shoes on when they got there, but she wasn't being violent. She wasn't being neglectful, as in not feeding her. I suppose he just found it hard to believe that it had got as bad as it had got. And he wanted to do it the legal way. So that didn't happen. And don't forget, he'd last seen them over Christmas and New Year. So as far as he could tell, it hadn't even been that long a period of time. So I suppose in his brain, he was probably thinking, how bad can it be? So then we've got Billy. Do you remember Stella's twin? Now, he gets wind of from a so-called friend again. And he gets told that Jessie has been beating on Tesslynn and Stella. And so Billy, being the twin brother and the brother, he goes round with a few pals. And when he turns up to the apartment, the front door's nailed shut. And of course, he's banging on the door and he's like, I want to see my sister, I want to see my niece and everything else. And so the police are called. Well, I think it was Billy who called the police, actually. And when the police come, Jessie talks to them kind of through a window and just says, look, this is what I've had to do because I'm scared of him and I don't know what he's going to do, on about Billy, Stella's twin. And so the police, of course, not knowing the structure of what's going on, they send Billy and his pals away because they believe he's aggravating the situation. So they're like, look, you know, it's a welfare check. We want to see the child. We believe there's a little girl in here. And at that point, a neighbour comes out. Now, I don't know if it's the same one that had been threatened by Jessie, but she comes out and she's like, take that baby away. Go and get that little girl. So to me, at this point, that's enough alarm bells that the police should have been feeling at this point, that we need to get into this apartment. But what one of them does, he goes round the back and makes his way through a fence, like takes down a couple of slats of a fence, gets into the back and looks through into a room in the apartment. And on the sofa is little Tessie. And she's got a blanket on her. And the police officer kind of waves. And she waves back. And the police officer took it. Oh, she's great. Oh, she's fine. She waved back. So he walks back to his colleague and they're like, everything's fine. And they leave. Oh, God. And they leave. And the worst part of it, they don't even make a report to DHS Social Services. They don't even do a report, which is apparently mandated when there's a welfare check for a child. And had they done that, it was said that it would have highlighted through, obviously, when Jessie's name was mentioned, that he'd already been taken away from his child for child abuse and domestic violence and everything else. So it would have gave them the authorisation to just go in and get Tesslynn out of there. But they didn't do that. It's just one thing after another, isn't it? Oh, dear. So we get to June the 14th, 1997. And this is 6 days after Tesslynn's 3rd birthday. Okay. Jessie and Stella go into the room where Tesslynn's been kept. And they find that she's blue and she's not breathing. Okay, and they start to panic. And so you think, did they phone an ambulance? Did they run outside screaming for someone to help? Their child's not breathing, or, well, at least Stella, her child's not breathing. I mean, Jessie doesn't, he's been in Tesslynn's life, what, 6 months? And do they do that? No. Of course they don't. Of course they don't. They Well, he starts slapping her. He starts slapping Tesslynn and splashing water over her, thinking, oh, this'll bring her round. Which, of course, it doesn't. So then he decides, I know what I'm going to do. This works for the ambulance man. So this is going to work for me. So he goes over to a lamp that they've got in the apartment. And he cuts the wire off and gets the frayed bits of wire, plugs it in. So it separates, so the wire's separated from the lamp itself. He plugs it in, the frayed wires, and he begins trying to shock Tesslynn back to life. And he does this over many, many areas of her body. Now, of course, that doesn't work. And unfortunately, Tesslynn had passed away. Okay. So after trying this, a home style, what do you call them? When you're in the ambulance and they go, I can't think of the name of them now. But his DIY one, when that doesn't work, he calls his sister, Lacey, and he says, I need you to come round here. And when she comes round to the apartment, she sees that little Tesslynn has been thrown in a washing basket. Quite obviously deceased. And they take her out into the car and they drive about an hour away and they bury her, what do you know, in some woodland, in a shallow grave. And they just drive back, and when they get back, they bag up all her belongings into 2 black bags. And it's said by the party friends that Stella and Jessie just seemed the happiest they'd ever seen them. They were so happy. And when Tesslynn was mentioned, they were like, oh, she's with a babysitter, or she's gone to live with family. And then they began talking about how they were going to have a baby together. They would love a little baby boy. She's just given her oldest boy away to his dad, Jason Sr. She's just allowed this monster to kill her child along with herself. Let's not leave her out of it. And they're there planning to have another child. Just absolutely sickening, these pair are absolutely sickening. Anyway, Lacey herself, his sister, she was just overcome. She couldn't take it. She couldn't take the guilt. Although she'd driven them, to this woodland where they buried Tesslynn. She couldn't cope with it. And after a couple of days, she goes to the police, apparently on June the 17th. So it had been 3 days. And she goes to the police and she tells them everything. And she takes them to the burial site. And there they find little Tesslynn. And at this point, she weighed only 31 pounds. Okay. And when they dig up little Tesslynn's remains, oh God, when they dig up little Tesslynn's remains, they find like rope and cord and wires that have been buried with her. And when they go back to the apartment and start searching, remember I said they threw away little Tesslynn's belongings. Do you want to know what was in there? A handmade Mother's Day card that she'd made for Stella. Just thrown away. I think that I always mention that stomach drop in some of these stories. I think that really got me. It was like, you absolute, oh, don't swear, but bitch. You little, oh, just vile pair, and a vile so-called mother. Okay, so what the police come along with as well, they come along and find a propane torch. Do you remember I mentioned the propane torch, which he liked to do his little party trick of how much pain he could take? They come across that, and anyway, both of them are arrested and charged with little Tesslynn's murder. Okay, so on October the 19th, 1998, the trial begins, right? And the pathologist who did the autopsy, okay, I've just been said, well, we're calling her mother. I agree. I fully agree. I'm doing my air quotes because yeah, absolutely disgusting. Okay, so when the autopsy came out, there was 64 talking points was the words mentioned. 64 talking points. Now, that's not to say that was the only injuries. No. There was a lot more than that. There was a lot more than 64. But there were 64 main injury sites. Let's just say that. But this poor girl was bruised from head to toe. Okay. Her cause of death was actually septic shock. Okay. In the final days leading up to her death, she'd been punched or kicked so hard in her stomach that it caused a ruptured liver. She'd also been punched so hard to her head that it bruised her brain. And like I said, the septic shock, which the cause of, she died of shock. And it was put down because there were so many injuries. They put it down, cause of death, battered child syndrome. Okay. Now, during the trial, they listed all of Tesslynn's injuries. Now you might think I've just listed a couple, but I'm gonna tell you this child for at least 4 to 8 weeks, up until her death was tortured. Just doesn't seem the right word. It doesn't seem the right word for what was done to this little girl. Torture just doesn't cut it. Okay. So I'm gonna list what was done and what they found with little Tesslynn. Right. And when those police knocked on, and she waved and the blanket was up, it was said that this was only a week or so before she died. So just keep that in mind, right? So she was starved. She was only 31 pounds. 4 to 8 weeks before she died, Jessie had broke 4 of her vertebrae in her back. Okay. He'd slapped and punched her. She'd been burnt with cigarettes all over her thighs. Her hair had been ripped out. Her wrists and her ankles were raw from rope burn. And let me explain to you why she had rope burn on her wrists and her ankles. Because for about 10 to 15 occasions this is, and anything up to 10 hours of those 10 to 15 occasions, little Tesslynn, I've seen two things. Either her arms were tied across her chest or they were tied up against the bed. But what has been said, that was her arms, but her legs, her ankles were tied above her head, above her shoulders to the bed. So either it was her legs and her arms tied up against her to the bed, or her arms were here and her legs were above her head. She was 2 years old. Okay. The reason I've mentioned that is because while she was in that position, she was raped at least twice. At least twice. Her labia was burnt off with his propane torch. Remember his propane torch that he'd used for his party trick? He burnt her genitals off. And it was said that he'd done that before he raped her. Her third birthday was spent like this. Don't forget, her third birthday was 6 days before she died, before she succumbed to her injuries. She'd been stabbed. She'd been stabbed with a fork during this time across her stomach. She had a gaping wound on her back, a broken back. Gaping wound, inches wide and in length, that had been done with the propane torch as well. She'd been stamped on her back. She had open wounds all over her body that they'd been treating with rubbing alcohol into those wounds. So the genital wound, the wound in her back, the cigarette burns. They were pouring rubbing alcohol, not just Jessie, this is Stella as well. It was proven that Stella, on more than one occasion, had tied her daughter up as well. So it wasn't like she was behind that bedroom and Stella knew nothing of it. She was just as much involved. She had so many burn marks from him attempting to shock her into life. She had all those burn marks over her as well. That she'd actually absorbed. They'd put so much rubbing alcohol into her wound, she'd actually absorbed it into her body as well. So that was in her body. Like I say, yeah. And on top of that, then she was continually slapped and punched and burnt and beat. This poor child. And this went on for up to 8 weeks, but anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks before she died. Can you imagine the pain this girl was in? And that's exactly what the prosecution said when they were during the trial. He was saying to the jury, I just want you to put yourself in that little girl's position. She would have been listening to her mum partying her little life out, out in the apartment. That's what she would have been listening to. And remember I said when people would see him go into the bedroom and then see him come out and they'd hear her cry for hours and hours. That's why she was crying. That's what he'd done to her in there. And just a monster. When I heard all of this, the pain, the absolute pain this child would have would have gone through. I mean, the defense were like, yeah, look, he did all of that. We know he did all of that, but he wouldn't have meant to kill her. He wouldn't have known it would have killed her. I'm sorry. Let me get a touch to your genitals and let's see how long it takes you to die, shall we? I can't. I know everyone. I know it's a thing that we have to have. We have to have a defense. I understand that, but to say, well, you know, they tried to say that it wasn't actually the torch that had done the damage to her genitals. It was boiling hot water he'd poured on her. Oh, okay then. Well, that's okay. Oh, well, all's forgiven. I don't know how they sleep at night sometimes, these defence attorneys, and I know it's their job. I know someone's got to do it. I understand that. But it's like, oh, you know, it was hot water. It's okay. We already know he only gave her cold baths. He didn't give her hot water. So, but apparently it wasn't a bath. He'd just gone in and just poured scalding water onto her while she was completely tied up. Oh my God. They found bits of her hair in the ties of the rope as well, where when they were tying her, they yanked her hair out. She was two. She had a third birthday while she was in that pain. Just horrific. But American justice, thank God, strikes again. He was found guilty, Jesse was, and he was given a death sentence. Now, what I will say is one of the jury just before it then had screamed out that poor baby, because don't forget, the jury has to look at these photos. They have to look at the photos of that little girl and what they'd done to her and listen to all the testimony and everything else. And one of the women she was just sobbing. She couldn't take it. She's like, that poor baby. And the defence jumped on it straight away and they were like, mistrial. But the judge wasn't having any of it, and he literally just replaced that particular juror, just replaced her, and he was found guilty. And after a couple more hours, they issued the death sentence. But this animal, stop saying animal, Jessica is not an animal. He's a monster. He kept on appealing it. Couldn't just take what he'd done and just die. No, he kept on appealing it. And then in 2022, a do-gooder by the name of Kate Brown, who was a governor of Oregon, and she decided to commute his sentence. Why he wasn't already dead, I don't know. They had decades to do it. But in 2022, his sentence was commuted to life in prison without parole. So, yeah, her thing was, we shouldn't still be killing people, and, you know, it costs a lot. I can't. But he'll never get out, and that's his appeals done as far as I know. 25 years he's been at it. And you might think about Mommy Dearest. What happened with her? Well, she cried all the way through her trial. Oh, she cried all the way through when she was hearing about her daughter. She tried to say that she hadn't seen Tesslynn for the 2 weeks before she died. This was proven to be a lie, out and out a lie. Her mum and her older sister, had come forward and said in her defence and said, but we bathed Tesslynn a month beforehand and there was no marks on her. The autopsy proved that was a lie, because this had been going on right up to 8 weeks beforehand. Her vertebrae had been broken before then. So either one of two things happened. The grandmother and aunt had bathed this little girl and saw her injuries and handed her back. Or what I think is more likely is they just lied. They just out and out lied, trying to protect this last time in a storybook. Bitch. That's what they've done. I would presume that's more likely what they've done. And so in the first trial of Stella's, the jury couldn't come to a I think one person couldn't find her guilty, but less than two people couldn't find her not guilty. Anyway, it came back in a hung trial. They did another trial. She had another trial where she was finally found guilty and also given life without parole. And as far as I know, that's it. That's all I can say on those two. I haven't heard any more, any appeals, anything else going on. Nothing's been said about Tesslyn's dad, Jason, or her older brother, little Jason Jr., who again now would be what, 27, 28? No, I've got that wrong, haven't I? I've got that wrong completely. 94 should be 30. 32, 33, he'd be now. Little Tesslyn on the 8th of June obviously would have been 30. She could have been a mum now. She could have been, I don't know. She could have been anything now. And she was, that's her. I think again, it was the Mother's Day card and the fact that she'd spent her 3rd birthday in that state. Just absolutely, just horrific. Absolutely horrific. Heartbreaking case. I had heard about it quite a few years ago. And then I came away from it, and then I came across it again not long ago, and I thought, I'm gonna do this story for you all. It's just horrific, just that someone can do that to anybody, let alone a baby, a little baby. And it just so upsetting. It just, this one, you know, it was like baby Brianna Lopez. It's just that sort of, you can't get your head round that it's real, that actually happened. It's just so hard to get your head round. But yeah, that was How Could They, the Tesslynn O'Cull story. Oh God. Oh, how are we? This is why I had to warn you at the beginning. It's just awful, isn't it? Just awful story. Oh, thank you, Phil. Thank you, Hayley. Thank you so much. Oh, just awful story. How are we doing Thank you, Phil. That's so good. It's just really hard, really hard. And I knew I was coming to a certain part in the story. I was just like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to say it? It's just awful. What's going on? How are we doing? How are we getting on in there? I know, Natalie. I know. And it goes all the way back. I mean, we can go back to Sylvia Likens in the 60s and just all the way through the 90s, 2000s. It's like that it's just the lessons, we're learning lessons, we're going to learn lessons. They never learn. And the police, you know, a law was passed, in Oregon. I don't know if it's statewide or it was Oregon. I'm not too sure, because I would have thought that it would have been, but mind you, it is the 90s, that if there is concern for a child during a welfare check, police have got the right just to walk in and check. Whereas at that point, at that time, they couldn't just walk in without a warrant, apparently. So that was changed during this. But yeah, just awful, awful, awful story. What's going on there? What am I missing in here? What is it Kelly and Ariane? I did notice Ariane. Has she been bumped? Is that what's happened? Are we bumped? What did you do, Kelly? What have you been up to in those comments? I just kept on seeing ice creams out the corner of my eye, and I'm like, oh God, what's going on? What are they doing? I thought we'd all been playing nicely. I saw her come in quite early, and I thought, okay, all right, we're all playing quite nicely. How are we all? And then I've just noticed that she's been bumped. She can't get to the end, can she? She just can't make it to the end without being taken off. Well done, Hayley. Looks like you've handled things very well. Look at you, my little moderator extraordinaire. I'm not half as cocky as our little Jesus. Oh, but do you know, while I'm doing the story, you're in charge of the comments. That's just how it is. I'm not there. I'm not there to see what's going on. All load of BS and generic. It's true, Phil. It is. It's just, they just say what they think sounds good, that sounds good in the moment, and you know, and just so people will go away quietly. It was like with Baby P when all that kicked off, and it was huge at the time. And then it happens again not long after. I think Ellie Mae Butler, wasn't that the same place as Baby P in Victoria, Columbia? I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the same area. It's a bit boys. Do you know what? You're absolutely convinced, aren't you? Do you know, I'm going to have a look through. I couldn't quite see what was going on. I just seen your name mentioned, Kelly, and then you mention it back. And then I was saying that she was cool with Warwick, which I did see them chatting the other day in the comments. But obviously I'm telling the story, so I'm not up to date with what you're doing until I read them back afterwards. So I never quite know what's going on. But it looks like it wasn't too bad. Was it okay? Have you been put off moderating forever, Hayley, or has it been okay? Has it been all right? Has it not been too bad? I've got, like I say, I haven't found you as cocky as our little Jesus, our little peacock. I haven't found you as cocky as her, I will say that. But did Warwick not come in then? Did he not come in? Maybe he's not. That's a shame, isn't he? He's been with us since the beginning, but maybe he'll come back. Maybe he'll come back in the future. I think he just needed a break for some reason, but I'm not too sure. But like I say, my nosiness could only go so far. It could only go so far before I had to pull it back and be like, I can't. She does that. Why? Why is she doing that? You love the power. Yes, Natalie, that one. Yeah, that one's awful. And you know, the one, because when you're reading about a story or hearing about a story, you know, in some way, it's not, you don't desensitize, don't get me wrong, but you might, it doesn't, I suppose the word I'm trying to say, it doesn't get you as much as like with Arthur when you could hear him and see him in the video. And I'll tell you one that got me like that, which was Tegan Skybar or Skibar. I never knew how to pronounce the last surname. I did that story. I don't know if I did it on the lives or I did it in my pre-recorded ones, but that one you hear her as well when she was told she had to repeat 3 times, didn't she? I will not wet myself, or I will not wet the bed. It was something like that. And you could hear her little voice, and she was only 4, and it just adds that real element to it where you're like, oh my God, why are these people out there? So yeah, I understand that. When you can hear them, it's just awful. Did you spot the troll? Was it you, Phil? Did you pick up on it? But I thought she was being all good, and she just, what, did she just get bored and start playing up? She does that, and I don't understand why. Ariane, what are you doing? If you can hear me or you can watch or anything like that, if you are watching still or you're watching, why do you keep doing it? Just it keeps going off. You did feel just thought I'd say contact. No, you were. No, I think I spotted when Phil seen it, and I think it was the same with you, Hayley. I think it was when it all started going downhill. And poor Kelly. She's always going after Kelly. Well, Kelly, what was the ice cream about? What does the ice cream mean? Why was she bringing up ice cream? I've seen the banjo, but I didn't know where. Yes, Phil, that's the one I was just making. Just it was Arthur and Star Hobson, wasn't it? Those two that came out in 2020. They were just, oh God. It's me and Warwick that she has to pick with. She's picked up if she thinks. No, and I don't blame you, Kelly. I don't blame you. You don't come on here for that. You don't come on here to have stick thrown at you or anything. Do you know what I mean? It's so we all have a interest in true crime, which makes us all odd anyway. Like with regard, I don't think we're odd, but like with regards to other people that don't, I know I get looked at sometimes. So what do you mean true crime? You know, sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I've got a true crime channel if you wanna have a look, and then you can always just tell by the face, you know, the eyebrows really. It'll be like, oh, I really like true crime, or it'll be true. What do you mean by true crime? Like real deaths, and I'm like, yeah. You're not going to subscribe to me, are you? So yeah, I always but that's what we're all here for. It's what we've all got the same interest in, and then we'll have a little natter like at the beginning, and then a little laugh at the end. And it's just a shame then when you've got someone coming in and just trying to, especially when the story's kind of getting to those sort of serious parts, and she's stirring. It's like, what are you doing? And she did. The reason I thought it'd be okay is I seen her say quite early on, she knew this story, and I thought, oh, okay. And I'd heard about it years ago, very early days of YouTube. I think one of the videos, like 16 years old on YouTube, would that be 2008? And yeah, and I thought, oh, she knows it. She'll have an interest. She might, you know, get back in with the group, and they can just talk about this, and it will give them something to talk about. But the second I seen her say something to Kelly, I was like, oh, you just can't help yourself. You just can't help yourself. And I don't know why it's you, Kelly. I don't know why she's going after you. I don't know why it's always you. Oh, God, look at them bloody comments. I didn't say that. Yeah, the truth. Oh, it is. It's just an awful one. She brought up Warwick's name. He isn't even here to say anything, so that. Oh, did she? Is that what she was doing? What did she say? Something bad? Yeah, she's just playing. She could say Warwick wasn't here. I mentioned it at the beginning that he wasn't here and he wasn't going to be joining us. What's she playing at? Oh God, I don't even know what to say. Because they're live, she can come in each time. How was she stopped before, or did she just used to come in and then Tifa go, nope, out you go. Tifa just get her on the boot, wouldn't she? And be boot. But fair play, Hayley, fair play to you, because I know, but I don't know how I'd moderate. I don't know how I'd be. I'd be one of two people. I'd either be brutal and there'd be no one watching because I'd be booting everyone, or I'd just allow everyone to row and just sit back and watch. I don't know. I don't think there'd be any middle ground with me. I think I'd be awful. I'd be awful at it. Sharon had asked me if I wanted to moderate on her channel, and this is a lot as it is. I just wouldn't be able to do it. But two, I wouldn't be a good moderator. I know I wouldn't. Her and Warwick were okay. Wasn't they chatting the other? Oh no, it was last Tuesday. You weren't there, was you, Phil? I'm sure last Tuesday. I I'm sure they were chatting back and forward, but like normally. But Tiffany ended up bumping her before I'd finished the story. So I think, just like tonight, she'd started off okay. And then I don't know what it is. I actually didn't ask Tiffany what it was over. But she just played up again. She got bumped. That was last Tuesday. But she makes it nearly all the way through. And then and it seems to be at Kelly. She seems to just have a thing for Kelly. I don't know what it is. I think you could be right. I think it could be like just a fella in the basement or something, just getting a kick out of it. I don't know. I don't know why it's a thing. I don't know, but she just seems to go after Kelly for some reason. I think it is. I think because you will go back, Kelly. You will go back. And I don't know if that's what it is, or it was over the banjo thing or that. But come on, how far back are we going back? When Banjo Gate? How long ago was that? Now this was ages ago, wasn't it? Banjo Gate. It was such a long time ago, so I don't know why it's still a thing. It's crazy. I don't understand it. But yeah. So how we find it? How we find our living from Skegness? How we find it? It's been lovely. Do you know what? This is my mama. I don't know, Phil. I don't know. She's just had this thing for Kelly since it all kicked off. Shoulders time. It's jingle time. Look, oh God. I got a bit carried away then, didn't I? It was all a bit this. I went swimming today. I went to a private pool today with my mum and my little ones. That was amazing. Went in the hot tub. It was excellent. Don't do things like that normally. So it was very nice, but it was a private pool. And no, when I said, oh, it's just amazing. She mentioned banjo. Did she mention banjo? Yeah, it's the whole banjo thing. And I just don't understand it. It's like, leave Kelly alone. What are you doing? Kelly's so easygoing. It's like, why? I think it is. I think you wouldn't take it and you just kind of pulled her up on it straight away. But it when I look back, when all that kicked off that day, that could have so easily just been eased off, like, with her just making a joke. She could have just made a joke of it, and then to constantly be coming in. And then we've had a couple of months, haven't we? We've just had a couple of months where it's been quite peaceful. And then it's the trolling. But like I say, Warwick and her last week, they kind of had, that's right, it's come back to me now. They kind of had like a bonding moment because her and Phil are both Manx. They're both from Manchester, which I hadn't realised. And they had like a bonding moment over that. And she'd said something to me. I didn't understand the reference, basically. It was something about football or not relating to football, and it was very cryptic and I hadn't understood it. And I was asking, I was like, Ariane, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're referring to. And Warwick was kind of making a joke and stuff. And yeah, I think she just irritated Tiffany by the end because she wasn't even trying to have a conversation then. I don't know what she was doing. I don't know. I genuinely don't. I was very confused by it. But Tiffany just had enough and went booted on the end of a boot. But look, I didn't even see it happening. I didn't even see it. It was just like, oh, right, okay. Okay, there's the end of the conversation. Northampton. No, Warwick, sorry. Did I say Phil? Sorry, Phil. Warwick and Ariane. Sorry. I don't know what I just said then. I meant Warwick and Ariane. They're both Manchesters. And they had like this little bond thing going on last week. So they did make up last week. Although, I gotta admit, I didn't think it was Warwick that had an issue. No, you wasn't. That's what I mean, Phil. That's when she said that she'd made up with Warwick earlier on. I was trying to think, why did you not? And of course, she wasn't here, and it was last week she made up with. And it was the funniest thing. she basically, her and Warwick made up and kind of were having like a bit of a banter with me and Tiffany, I think. She annoyed Tiffany. Tiffany bumped her. And next thing you know, within 3 seconds, Kelly came in. I was like, oh my God, you've literally just missed your pal. Literally just missed her. She wouldn't even explain what she meant. That's what I mean. That was the problem. She'd made a reference. I don't even know if it was supposed to be a funny reference, like an inappropriate reference. I don't know what it was. And every time we were saying, look, what are you talking about? Tiffany asked her, Hayley asked her, I asked her. She was just giving these real cryptic responses, and it was like, oh God, it was just hard work. It was really hard work. I've got to admit, I wasn't expecting her to get gone, but she was get gone. Catfish. Yeah, I think so. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Just play nice. Just play nice in the comments. That's all you have to do. Or just watch me quietly. Just shh and just watch the story, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to constantly just roll people up. It's crazy. It is ridiculous. I have been told, though, that if ever the channel did increase in any way with like people watching the live maybe and commenting, like I was told, that can get 10 times worse, don't you? And I was like, well, it's not going to be me. It's going to be Tiff and Hayley who are going to have to deal with it. They're going to have to deal with it, because I'll be doing my story. So I'm just going to sit here very sweetly and be like, I don't know what you mean. It's nothing to do with me. I'm an angel. It's nothing to do with me. I have no part in it. But yeah, I don't know. But I've had a lovely evening from Skegness. Thank you all so much again for joining me. And it's nearly, look at the time again. God, I do keep you, don't I? But what date did we say I'd be back? It's the 6th of August, isn't it? And honestly, you have my word, it's not going to, unless my legs fall off or something, like touch wood. There won't be chopping and changing for a while after this. It's just with the summer holidays and going away and everything else. And I only react like this because I know how I react to channels that aren't on, even if it's on the TV and a series finishes. It's very rare for me to go back to another series, because I'm like, I've moved on. I move on very quickly. And so I'd hate for you all to move on too quickly and forget about me. So yes, I'll be back on the Tuesday the 6th of August with you all. And thank you. And I'll be back to my normal setting. But I have very much enjoyed this. And I've got to admit, I'm not going to lie, I've got to get myself a table. Because this is ace. It looks ace, doesn't it? I do like this. I don't like too much of a change, but this has been very comfortable rather than sitting on the floor and having to shuffle around every 2 minutes. But it's jingle time. So thank you all so much again. If you want to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/JessRose5472. And if you are watching tomorrow, or even if you're watching now, if you could go in and drop me a comment on the video, because they don't wipe the live ones anymore, but you don't see them for ages. And apparently, so Warwick told us that it does something to the algorithm. So yes, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. It sounds different here. It sounds, and I haven't got the same neighbours. Tiffany's going to kill me. Do you want me to tell you all a secret as well? Hayley, you'll appreciate this. I don't know whether it's by my sister, Phil, Kelly, Natalie, who else did I say on? I don't know, PJ was there. Hayley knows, but the rest of you, Tiffany's got a gorgeous Shar-Pei dog, right, that I'm here looking after. And her name's Bailey, and she's not allowed around the house. And I've been letting her. And she's been sneaking upstairs. I mean, it's not my fault. But Hayley will understand why that's a bit of a stress. She's going to kill me. Oh, what if she watches this? I know it is. I know it is. It's louder, isn't it? But I don't know what she's going to say. She's going to kill me. But so not only have I been giving her dog the run of the house, which so she's going to kill me. Her neighbours are going to go mad because it's like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Look, comment, subscribe. It is really, it's much angrier, isn't it? I think I'm very excited. I've started sweating now and everything. I've got myself very, very het up. Look at me. Look, comment, subscribe, guys. Look, comment, subscribe. I know. She's going to kill me. She's going to absolutely kill me when she gets back, or if she sees this. She'll know before. And you know what? The dog grasses me. On the bed. Oh, I don't know if you've heard that. Oh, she's going to kill me. She's going to kill me. Please don't grass me. Please don't grass me, because she's going to kill me. She is. Is she watching? I've got to admit, I would hope that she wouldn't still be watching now, but she's going to absolutely kill me. She's so strict. So, yeah, I'm going to get in the neck when she gets back, unfortunately. And probably the neighbours are going to knock on and say, yeah, your sister was shouting really loud the other night and we didn't quite know what was wrong. But anyway, I will see you all. Thank you to Hayley, my moderator. I can't call you moderator extraordinaire because she'll pull a face. What can I call you? I know, I'm in so much trouble. She snuck up. It wasn't me. I woke up and she was just there. I was like, I can't move, yeah. I can't move you. She's all lonely. So I'm just going to have to get it in the neck, you know. What's to say? So we're going to call Hayley our moderator extraordinary. I'll think of one for you anyway. So thank you, Hayley and Kelly and Phil and Natalie. And I did see PJ here earlier. Ariane, if you're watching, you've got to stop and you'll be welcome back. But yeah, thank you all so much, and I'll see you all on the 6th of August. Did I forget anyone? Hayley, this is where I'll need you. Did I forget anyone then? I hate to forget people. I hate that because it's like someone sat there going, okay, I was here. What are them faces? I don't know what them faces are. Is that a grimace because she's going to kill me? I think that's what it is. But anyway, yeah, I'll see you all on the 6th. And have a fantastic couple of weeks, guys. And yes, I'll see you then. Look, comment and subscribe, guys. Look, comment and subscribe. Look, comment and subscribe. Oh, I've got to calm down with the angriness, haven't I? I've got to. Look, comment and subscribe, guys. See you soon.